I love slideshows so much. I love making new slideshows, and I love making them for OC related things, character related things, story related things. So I'm just going to talk about the ones I've made for story stuff, but I might make another one about other things I use slideshows for. My biggest one recently has been called the Kin slideshow. This is basically where I take a character and my character, and I just put a bunch of characters that remind me of this character or are inspiring to this character, or that I have found some sort of story element in them that I think fits my character, or their personality matches, or their relationship type matches with another character, and that character I also put on a different slideshow card. For example, I have... Let me actually get the slideshow out. I think it'd be cool if maybe I showed off some slides. Is it embarrassing? Yes, but it's fine. I love it, I love it, I love it. Like, for example, for my character, Tyler, he has a lot of these positive main character inspirations. Most of them have some sort of protective parent in their life. They're very positive, but maybe they have some emotions underneath that they need to kind of vent out, maybe go to therapy about, and that is sort of the vibe I was going with his slideshow. These are just characters that I think inspire it, or I see Tyler in these characters whenever I watch the shows or movies or whatever, and I just love it. Okay, but there's certain things that go for certain characters, so it's it's kind of hard to explain because you'll see there are multiple of characters in different slides. Okay, for example, this one is Tyler's. It's somewhat finished. There's that little white at the bottom, but it is somewhat finished. And then there is Eli's slide. And then, so I just kind of refer to these. So you'll notice that, they're okay, let's start off strong, Sonic, but also Tails. Sonic because main character, and he's got that shit, he got that magic or whatever, going on. But also Tails more so for the personality, for the fact that he's younger, that kind of thing. But then you go to Eli's slideshow, and it shows Shadow instead because of the personality, the whole vibe, all that kind of stuff. So between the two characters, there is going to be relationship things I take into account, personality, looks, inspirations, things like that. Because then the main ones I did were Eli, who is Tyler's best friend and also a demon. Tyler, who is Eli's best friend and is a human boy who has exorcist powers. And then I also did May, who is Tyler's mom. She is somewhat she's not a main character, but she's a side character who gets a lot of focus because she is Tyler's mom, so it just makes sense. She's very much a protective character. She doesn't want anything bad to happen to Tyler. She does all these things that she is somewhat of an antagonist in the beginning, not because she's a villain. She's not a villain, she's an antagonist. She stops Tyler and Eli from doing things that they need to do because she's nervous and scared about Tyler being protected, and also doesn't trust Eli because she herself is an exorcist. So that's the whole vibe. So it's a lot of these protective parent figures who don't want anything to happen to their younger child. And then a lot of the relationships between May's characters relate to Eli's characters, and the fact that they are kind of opposing forces at times. You'll see that with Nani and Stitch, where they kind of have this whole back and forth because Nani is I'm just trying to protect my sister, and Stitch is I'm just here to be a friend, man. But it's kind of that's kind of the vibe I go for with these. I try to think about multiple characters instead of just one character that matches each character. So you'll see stuff Steven Universe. Steven Universe is an inspiration for Tyler, but then you go into the fact that Lapis is on Eli's because it's this... I go for a lot of grumpier characters, but they are smarter than the main character. They have some sort of wisdom to them. And then they have a third force, which is the mother, father, parent figure, who believes that they know the best for the main character. And then you have the whole idea of the main character, who is this cheerful, fun, carefree kind of spirit, with a best friend who is grumpy but is thinking of what's best for the younger character. And then you have the force that thinks that the cynical best friend is actually bad for them and doesn't like them hanging out with the main character. That is sort of my whole vibe with this whole slideshow. Is this embarrassing to share? Maybe, but I think it's useful. I think it's fun. I think it helps me remember what type of characters these three are. It's also just fun. Like, it's just fun to make these. I literally had the time of my life yesterday making these, and I showed it off to my friends, and I was like, wait, why is this so dumb? And, I mean, I have more, but they're not as distinguished as these three. These three are my most developed characters. They don't have any one-tonedness to them. They are opposing forces that keep colliding, basically. Yeah, and so, that was a long tangent about the Kin slideshow. I also have one, though, for, Comet, but it's really fun. Oh, there it is. You know, it's freaking shining glory. Comet's whole thing is, like, character who appears very confident, very put together, kind of, very much showboaty, you know, this, like, confidence. But how true is that confidence? How much is true about this appearance that they have? Versus the, he kind of has, like, this duality of his character where he appears as if he's confident. He has this whole showboaty stuff. And then underneath that, there is this kind of insecurity, kind of need to be liked by other people. Kind of a sense of needing to prove himself to people, that kind of thing. So he has this duality of his character that kind of bounce against each other. It's almost like the forces I was talking about with the other three characters before is kind of just both are in him, you know, his character. He has the confidence, the playfulness, the theater version of him versus the insecurity and, like, the ugliness, you know, that kind of bounce against each other and kind of make his life worse, basically. So, you know, a lot of these characters, you'll see that kind of idea in. It's also, like, it is a thing that Comet is a lot smaller than he's supposed to be. He is, I want to say, like, 5'6" or 5'7". He's a full orc, so he's super short. He's super small, and that is an insecurity of his, so he does lie. He has a thing where he tends to lie a lot about himself to make himself feel better, but also to make other people think he's better than he is. And he just wants people to like him so much. So there, you can see it in the different characters, which aspect of these character flaws, strengths that I'm coming from. Sort of, Hercules, the guy from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Flint? Yes. Flint, Hercules, Chicken Little, Lance, Grunkle Stan. You have this, well, I don't know about Grunkle Stan. Grunkle Stan might be in the other one. But, like, you have this sense of kind of feeling insecure, feeling like they're not enough, you know, versus, like, Eugene or Flynn Rider, both of the villains from Trolls 3. You just have this idea of, like, a character who needs to prove themselves, basically. I went on way too long about that whole slideshow idea, but it is something that I'm very, very, I enjoy a lot, you know? Wow, this is a whole video. I'm going to I talked for way too long about this. I'm probably gonna come back to slideshow stuff later. I just had a lot to say about like the slideshows that like relate to like how to understand your characters and all that. So I will be back. I promise. I promise, because I love talking about slideshows, and I think people should do more slideshows. It's so fun. I love seeing people do slideshows. Okay, that's all I really have to say on this. But I hope you enjoy. I hope this wasn't too cringe for y'all to see, but like also like cringe isn't real and you should do whatever you want. And I'm drawing a comic about a demon and an exorcist, so I think me trying to not appear cringe is kind of out of the question. So yeah, I'm gonna head out, but I hope this was fun. Okay, bye!